I'm not big on putting out a whole lot of videos. In fact, I do it only once in a blue moon. Seriously. This is a video response to the video put out by Mr. Downrange. He was asking a question for his 100 sub contest about what would you do if the SHTF doesn't happen. Well, in my humble opinion, the S is already Hing TF. Okay. From my perspective, we're in the beginnings of it right now. What do I mean by that? Well, let me describe it in a way. I'm going to use 3 books to describe it, and these are most of these books I think most preppers have. First book is this one right here, Patriots. Okay, James Wesley Rawls. By the author's own admission, this is not a realistic depiction of what will happen or even what could happen, really. What it is it's basically a worst case scenario of the SHTF meets a best case scenario of prepping. There's a lot of really good ideas in this book. I highly recommend it. I think most of you watching this video probably already have it. It's a novel, but it's written in such a way that it's full of basically instructions on how to do, just to give you ideas on how to do stuff if there was ever a collapse of any kind. It's a really good book, but on this scenario here, I don't think it's very likely that something like this is going to happen. Okay? And that's kind of a bummer, I think, for most people out there deep down. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people think like that. They think that, oh wow, that would really be cool if we could do it just like Patriots. Well, sorry to disappoint. Ain't going to happen. All right, the second book is also a novel. This one I read fairly recently. Put it up here so you can see it. 1 second after. In a nutshell, this one is about EMP, electromagnetic pulse. You can Google all about it, but basically everything is electronic, is shut off in the whole continental United States. Pretty nasty scenario. Whether or not that is possible, I can't say. I can't say it's impossible. I can't even say it's improbable. That, I guess, is a maybe. Okay, that's a true SHTF scenario right there. Because, like the title of the book says, 1 second after, everything's changed forever. Nothing goes back the way it was. Okay, I recommend that one as well. Now, the third book is one I just recently picked up. I'm not even. Let's read the title of that. I'm still working on it. I'm not even finished reading it. Okay, and it's by this guy. I don't know. I'm not good at Hispanic names. Fearfall is his. That's his website. Also, you can read that. Surviving the Coming Economic Collapse. Now, this one's written about firsthand experience of the collapse that occurred in Argentina back in 2001. Now, the way this happened down there, I think is pretty similar to what can and will and probably is in the beginnings of already happening here in the US. Okay. What it was, well, the economy, the bottom fell out of the economy, basically. And it got really nasty long about December of 2001, where there was rioting in the streets, and throughout the first year of 2002, or the whole remaining year of 2002, it was just pandemonium down there. It was a complete mess. Now, that said, things still functioned. Unemployment was 25%, which is really high, but that means that 75% of the people in that country still had a job. They still had to go to work. People weren't bugging out, heading for the hills and stuff like that. They were heading for the inner cities because that's where the work was, and you got to go where the work is. That is a really that book is a hell of an eye opener, honestly. The first chapter almost just contradicts just about anything you've ever heard about prepping, and in a lot of ways, it's saying that okay, you're not going to head for the hills, you're going to head for the city because you're going to need to find work. You're not going to be strapped with your AR in 8 mags and body armor and all this crap walking the streets like Rambo. Okay, and I think pretty much everybody already knows that. That's not a, if you still think that, then I feel sorry for you at this point. That's not what you're going to be doing unless there is, unless you want to get shot. Put it that way, because that's what will happen. Um, he talks about little things like your handgun is going to be your main weapon. And we've all heard the axiom about, oh, a handgun's only good for fighting your way to more ammo in a better rifle or whatever. Be that as it may, when you're picking your kids up at school, you don't have your rifle slung across your back. If you're smart, you have your CCW here in this country, and you're able to carry concealed, and you have a concealable handgun and maybe a couple extra mags. That's what you're going to fight with if you have to fight. Okay, there's a lot of little details like that in this book that really, highly recommend it for every prepper out there. Okay, so back to the main question. What if nothing ever happens? What if the crap never hits the fan? Well, I don't believe it in this country. I think a very good possibility is that it is going to be a slower process than everyone anticipates. It's not going to be like an epic car crash that, all of a sudden we're humming along down the road and then boom, everything changes forever, unless it's an EMP or whatever, like in the 1 second after scenario. It's going to be a gradual process until, things are just going to change ever so slightly over the course of time, until one day you just wake up and you think, how in the hell did we ever get to this point? How did we ever get to this? I can't leave my house without my gun, really seriously, for fear of getting mugged, because the crime is that bad where I live. I can't afford to move because the dollar currency and everything is so skewed and everything. I can't afford to quit my job. I can't afford to do any of the stuff I wanted to do. Bugging out. Hell, I could barely afford gas to get to work. Those are the unglamorous, very realistic possibilities of what we would be looking at if things play out the way I think they will. I don't know. It's just I don't think we're going to get out of this. But I'll go ahead and answer the question anyway. As far as what do you do with all your what happens to all your preps, all your junk, all your food, all this and that? Well, here's what happens to it. The non-perishable items that like your guns and your ammo and stuff like that, you keep them. You keep them squirreled away. You keep them, buried in the backyard if it comes to it or whatever. If you're most comfortable doing that, you keep them away from prying eyes. And you don't talk about stuff like that to folks in your immediate vicinity. And if need be, you pass them on down to your kids, and you help take care of them, because sooner or later, somebody's going to need them. Your country living grain mill and stuff like that, well, if you never get around to actually using it because the power never actually goes out, well, great. But it's there if and when that ever does happen to one of your kids or whatever. Okay, your perishable items, if you preserve your own food, that question kind of answers itself, because most people who do their own canning and stuff like that, they just preserve a whole bunch of food at once, and they're going to have a year's worth on hand, so they're always going to be eating last year's food. That takes care of itself. If you got the stockpile of Mountain House and what have you else, the freeze-dried stuff, well, there's a good soup kitchen somewhere near you. Hopefully you can make a donation if that stuff's getting up in the years and nearing its expiration date. But I sure as hell wouldn't be giving my stuff away unless I was already replacing it with something. So prepping is not something that you do only when things look bad, because it's always, you know, things could turn to crap on you in a heartbeat. It doesn't have to be a SHTF. There's any number of personal disasters and whatnot that can befall. That's no front page news for anyone, though. Everybody knows a lot about that. So, but just to recap, I'd highly recommend the 3 books that I mentioned. Please read them and take very much to heart, especially this last one here, because this guy, he lived it. Okay, the rest of a lot of the authors out there are very speculative. You know, they talk like they know what they're talking about, and maybe in many cases they do, but they've never lived an SHTF scenario. Okay, this guy has. So I would certainly take what he has to say above and beyond a lot of these others. And again, the information in that book is not even a little bit glamorous. It's pretty gut-wrenching. In fact, he had to self-publish that book because there wasn't a publisher that would touch it. They wanted to edit it and hack it all to pieces and whatnot. So yeah, it's worth it. It's a little spendy. It's about $25 is what I spent on it, and but I find it was highly worth it. So there's my video response. Appreciate it very much.